Hello, very good morning. The Yeah, I think the first session in a hall on day two is a tough one. Everyone has a probably a long first day at the event. We had a good time yesterday. I'm Navin Joshua. I represent GreenHonchos. I don't know about the unfair advantage, but we do partner with brands who are anywhere in their e-commerce roadmap around consulting, growth, automation, performance, scale, up to profitability. I think that's where the holy grail these days. With a bit of the funding winter, I think it becomes even more possible to focus on the North Star metric of profitability, which is probably what every business is and should never take their eyes off in any environment. I've got a 15-minute slot. I'll try and wrap it up in 10. I'll just talk very specifically because I do know about D2C brands. I'll just talk about some metrics. I think the metric that we always talk about is ROI. I'm calling them as D2C growth barriers. What challenges do businesses face when they want to scale their own e-commerce? I believe the fragmented tech ecosystem is one of the biggest issues. What tech to use? I think it's probably one of the most complex use cases. Marketplaces have democratized that very well. Pre-COVID, I think brands that wanted to go online or B2C, marketplaces was also B2C. All the post-order conveniences of logistics, payments, etc., capped off in terms of profitability. It wasn't a challenge for D2C brands to take care of. They knew what their margins were, and they got a net sale remittance out of it. When it comes to the D2C, I think there are a lot more hard yards to do. There's organic, there's paid, there's platform, there is post-order, there is communication, there's personalization. Each metric runs into each other. And that's where I think some of the problems are in terms of what D2C brand owners face as a challenge ongoing, that which is whose metric. I think I'd just like to, pause here and focus on, I think we're always talking about ROAS, ROI, and conversion being the key metric for profitability. I totally disagree. I think all these three are, they're not even metrics, to be honest. They are derivative metrics. They are derived from some other metrics. X divided by Y is equal to an ROI or a ROAS or a conversion. No one can increase ROI or conversion. You can increase click-through rate, you can increase add to cart, you can increase cart to conversion. These are actually the only three metrics you can, as a business or brand or marketer, focus on. Challenges remain high customer acquisition, low retention, lot of fragmented data for decision making, to be a little bit inconsistent, I think, and obviously conversion rate. I'll talk a little more about these metrics that I feel move the needle. We have some kind of a monitoring framework in place to look at the input funnel itself on D2C. When I talk about the input funnel, we're talking about what we call as TOF or top of the funnel, commonly. The website at the entry point makes a big difference. We did a study earlier with KPMG. It was for one of the nationalized brands that for a 1 second drop or rise in what we called as time to interact or TTI at the website entry point, it made about a 12% difference in the add to cart rate itself. And if you look at it, if the 12% change in your add to cart, it actually means a 12% change in your ROI itself as a metric. So, some of these in terms of the monitoring frameworks are important to look at. So one of the key metrics we always look at is communications and ads, because a lot of money is in the new customer acquisition side of it. When you look at that, I think ads have only 2 or 3 sub-metrics within them. There is quality of creative, quality of communication, and quality of targeting. A mix of them result in a CTR. If brand owners or marketers focus enough there, which is still not where they've accessed the website from a collection standpoint or a range or a product standpoint. But that first metric itself, if businesses or brand owners do a good job there, then you start your entire ROI journey a little ahead of the curve without someone even accessing the product. It's a great individual area to look at. The second, when we talk about it, is add to cart. I think there's a lot of good intel or tech in place. One of the important ones is core web vitals, as you all may know. Speed, performance, mobile responsiveness, bounce rate is a figure that's, and I'm talking a lot of metrics for D2C founders. Is one of those important metrics to look at, especially when the mix of paid versus organic, is very high. These days, new customer acquisition is probably 80% or more for a lot of businesses. Organic is low because discoverability is still on in terms of the landscape. Retention is still low. For certain product types, the customer lifetime value, the repeat customer purchase actually could be a cohort of as high as 12 months as well. So for example, in a beauty or personal care or consumer packaged goods, your repeat cohort can be as short as 3 months as well. But from a particular brand, let you talk, for example, footwear, you wouldn't really have a repeat cohort sooner than 6 to 12 months, at least from the same brand. So with those metrics, I think personalization comes into the play a lot. I think you must be hearing about MarTech. We believe that it's extremely important to increase your add to cart by creating custom journeys and not just preying on retargeting. If we are able to engage with custom journeys, I think they have a lot higher cart to conversion ratio. And at the end of it, I would say in the journey, cart to conversion, I think a lot of D2C founders get very cute with experimentation because they can. You can't do that on a Myntra, etc., because they set the standards and you have to adhere to them. We tinker with things like shipping charge बढ़ा देते ना, COD कुछ दिन हटा के देखते ना. Again, all from a profitability standpoint, and what you don't try, you will never know. But I would suggest if you're pouring in the marketing dollars at the top of the funnel, don't tinker with them as much. A lot of there are good and best practices off the checkout, and we shouldn't make it overcomplicated to try and play with the profitability there. We'd rather start with the funnel itself, get the right paid sort, get the right algo going in the top 20 products. And Amazon also says in India, the top 40 products on any catalog listing page gives 83% of all the business. So if you have a large category, figure out what the top 40 products need to be, because the conversion is going to come from there itself, because the viewport on a mobile is 4 products at a time and 10 scrolls is 40. No one does more than that. In fact, most of the pages don't load up very well after the 10th swipe. So that's parts of the reason, why we believe that probably the North Stars of profitability need to be looked at elsewhere. For D2C founders, I think the question's always been, can you scale with profitability? Because it seems to be an either or most of the time, that now we will scale and then we'll stabilize and then we'll scale again. We don't believe that that's the way to go. We do believe that you need to work on organic, although it's slow, but it's very steady, which is SEO, as you know. You need to work on retention marketing, which is where MarTech comes into play, because paid marketing does well on the back of them. It's not something to be done sequentially. In typical D2C, I don't know where this go, but yeah, in typical D2C, I think the conversion rates in general span anywhere around about 0.5 to about 2.5%, finally. you know, and depending on category, depending on, gender, depending on multi-brand within a website, etc., it ranges from the min to the max. Where is the opportunity? I, I believe that the leading marketplaces at an aggregated level, organic plus paid overall, high intent traffic, the conversion rates are at least 7 to 8%. So for us in the D2C side of the world, if you're at 0.5, you can go to 5. If you're at 2, you can go to 8. Imagine if we are able to work on each of these sub-metrics a little better. Uh, Profitability is something that would, I see the headroom basically in this gap. It's a discoverability journey. As long as brands have more organic and more retention or repeat customer rate or ratio, brands can go as high as even 5% conversion rate, which seems very, very far and slightly abysmal as I say it now. But it happens. It happens even now and can happen. Uh, and that's going to be the trend as customers become more and more used to D2C and probably switch from marketplaces because you're selling a story and a narrative, which is the biggest advantage of D2C because you speak to your consumer, and you're able to work on much higher repeat cohorts with them. I think ROIs, while cost of acquisition might get even higher in the competing landscape, but conversions can go up by over 100%, which makes the overall game of profitability a little more tenable. So, that would be, my few cents about how brands can scale with profitability. And that should always be the North Star metric. I'm open for questions. We've got about 3 minutes more in time. Any questions from the group on D2C scale, profitability metrics? I'm available now. And we are also at the speaker lounge. Glad to answer any.
Okay. Hi, Navin. This is Anurag. I represent Trendway, which is a premium women ethnic wear. We are essentially into sarees and lehengas, designer ethnic wear. All right. So my question is that being the fashion category being dynamic, as you said, identifying the products and then again within the particular category and then marketing those or promoting those in order to get the maximum share of the revenue. So being a fashion category, how, because every 2 or 3 months it's been changing. So what is anything, any formula where we can we will identify, okay, we do now also, but the challenge we face always is that being it's very dynamic, highly dynamic, so we sometimes we couldn't able to focus on that particular category, or that particular product, sorry. So then again we have to shift the gears towards the different. So how to combat that and how to take care of that?
This is a very vast question, and I'll try to answer some of it, and we can obviously speak separately.
Yeah, sure.
But I think in the digital landscape, please have a seat. In the digital landscape, that's always a challenge because uh, of the competition. You don't know when, who is marketing how much, what share of voice are you taking. There aren't great tools for you to be able to know this is my share of voice if I market this much. Uh, on marketplaces, it is slightly easier to be able to deduct basis reviews or basis the number of options you have within a subcategory and what share of volume you can do. There's some analytics available. On D2C, it's still a little tough, but I think campaign structure, you need to be able to, my advice would be to always have your entire spread of campaigns always running. I think what happens is we too often double up on marketing where the ROI is higher, but they stop performing because of freshness at any given point in time. Not only freshness of the product or the ad campaign, but the entire market scenario and the algorithm of, let's say, Google or Facebook. I think building up a broader category structure in your campaign manager itself so that all are firing at any point in time, even when the ROIs are low. Using automation is highly recommended by me in terms of ad budget management. Bringing in stop loss into that, we can talk more about how it can be done. So that, and also obviously planning on the replenishment side. Because in fashion, typically, since you're talking about trend, what ends up happening is on marketplace you sell product because it's like a shop in shop, and on your own D2C you can actually push market more, and you can actually sell the brand story narrative range of what's selling as well as not selling. So you will create your cohorts of bestsellers, you will create your metrics like full price merchandise sale. You should always have something on discounted. So there are many strategies to be able to get deployed together to make this work. Glad to speak a little more in detail. I love this topic, but for time, I just
I understand. Sure.
thank
Thank you for addressing.
Yes, please. Yeah, we'll finish it. Just take one last question. One last question.
Sure. Hi, myself Chandni, and I am representing a organic brand for home cleaning. So my question is that you talk about like profitability, and when we get involved into D2C market, there are so many hurdles which we face day to day for the different charges which we have to pay for all the automations you are talking about. So how do one receive a break even at what point?
It's a tough one because it's very category driven as well. Because sometimes, like in your case, you're also educating. You're also creating discovery for a category, which typically earlier there were e-commerce friendly categories and unfriendly. Now probably every category has its own time and space. But I do believe it's important to create our growth and our scale metrics and our KPIs first. And it has to be a mix. I see your challenge because that's what I called in my first slide as the biggest challenge for D2C owners is a fragmented tech ecosystem. And everyone selling some product, everyone suggesting to re-platform from something to something. And very often you don't know which metric is being impacted by which tool in the automation journey. So getting the tech stack right is probably the first thing, and figuring out what is the total cost of ownership. What from COGS or cost of goods to your cost of acquisition to your retention. As I said, organic needs to play. It's a long-term bet, but you must work on the returning customer and on organic. Those are the only tenets. I think the post-order journey is also extremely critical in terms of the communication. I think returns tend to be very complex in D2C, in categories where returns are more like in fashion. I think communicating with the customer, trying to see a slightly longer term horizon, but I believe that even within a 6 month from launch, a business can be profitable, not only at the EBITDA level, but also at the net profit level. We can talk more, but I think I'm done for time. I'm happy to take any questions at the speaker lounge from anyone. Thank you so much.